Hello, it's Steve, and this is our sustainable journey. Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button. It would really help us out. If you like the video, click the thumbs up. If you have questions, comments, whatever, just put them at the bottom. I try to answer everyone that I can, because there's a lot of information and a lot of misinformation out there, actually. So we try and share everything that we know, so that more people do this kind of fun stuff with worms and with farming and whatnot. So today, remember those 3 bins I set aside last time? We're gonna feed them. I'm gonna show you a couple different ways of feeding, and we're gonna do 3 different types of feedings. With the three, again, so you can see the worms are in here. There they are. There's the worm bowl. I don't remember how many are in this bin. Probably a few pounds, at least. So yeah. So, and we'll let them calm back down a little bit. I don't like fluffing the bins. There's a bunch in this one too. Because it kind of riles them up, you know. It'd be like somebody coming into your house and just shaking everything up. That doesn't sound like very much fun. So we'll let them calm down a little bit, burrow back down, and then I will weigh out. Let's assume, let's say there's 3 pounds per bin, and we'll feed them once a week, right? So if we assume they eat half their weight, so that's 1.5 pounds a day, but there's probably 10 pounds of food in here. So we'll do some math. We'll figure out. I'm probably just going to feed them 1 pound. I don't want to feed them too much. Maybe more. We'll see. Maybe I'll weigh one of these bins and see how much it weighs. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. There's some glare. 23 pounds, 13 ounces. So basically 24 pounds. Man, that's a lot of worms. So I guess we can assume there's maybe 10 pounds of worms in here. Yeah, that's quite a bit, because these are jam-packed full of worms. And this stuff is actually pretty light. So okay, so let's assume there's 5 pounds of worms, and we're feeding them half their body weight, so that's 2.5 pounds per day for a week's worth of food. That's a lot of food. That's like 30 pounds of food. Let's do 5 pounds of food, and I'll show you what that's gonna look like. So today's Friday, which means it's bucket pickup day for our food scrap customers. So I picked up a bunch of buckets. I know, dude. Barn cats, I tell you. And so we have some paper towels, some bananas, some onion, which people love to frown on onion. I think onion is just fine. We've never had an issue with it, you know, with the worms not liking it or eating all of it. It's going to take a lot longer for those peels. But so what? We have time, right? I'm not in any kind of rush. We're not going anywhere. So, same thing with avocados. Those will eventually break down. It's actually kind of cool. Plus, if there's any goop still inside, the worms love it. They love avocado, any kind of mushy stuff like that. So, I'm going to measure out a couple of pounds. We'll do 5 pounds, and we'll see what that looks like. And then we'll put it into the bins. Some lemon. Avocado. Kind feel like a chef sometimes when I'm feeding the worms. It's like I'm preparing some delicacy that no one in their right mind would ever eat. But they will. Lemon, banana, onion. I think that's a carrot right there. Up to 2 pounds. Jam it in there. We're at 3 pounds. All right, 3 pounds, 2 ounces. That's a full tray. I'm gonna call that good. So I said we're gonna do 3 different types of feeding styles. So the first one, probably one of the more popular ones, is pocket feeding. So what you do in pocket feeding is you make a little pocket, right? And that's where you're going to put the food. Okay? So we're going to convince the worms to go elsewhere. Create a little hole. We're going to pop the food in. So it's in one corner of the bin, and then we're going to cover it back up. Right, so this is kind of a large sample size, but that's it. That way, the reason you want to do that, so what's cool about pocket feeding is now the worms have all this other space. So if there's something in there, maybe, I don't know, they're not in the mood for lemon today, or there's something that heats up the bin a little bit, they can go over here. They don't need to be over here where the food is. They can get away from it. And that's one of the reasons I like the big CFTs, is because they can get away from anything like that. So we can feed them 200 pounds. And if they're not happy about it, they can go elsewhere. There's other space in the bin. And so that's what's nice about pocket feeding. The other thing you'll note is I buried it. Always bury your food. If you're in a small bin like this, it will keep other pests away, flies and fruit flies and fungus gnats and things like that. You don't really want those, especially if you have an indoor bin. That will help keep all that stuff away. All right. So we'll measure out another 3 pounds and we'll do the next method. Okay, that looks good. And it's actually only 2.5 pounds this time. But it's really fluffy. So this is more of a layering. All right, so this is where we're gonna scrape so that we can bury the food. And so we'll scrape, but not all the way to the bottom. We're just gonna scrape a little bit. We'll toss half the food in. And then we'll scrape back. And then I'll put the rest of it here. I see stickers. I will get those when we sift. And then we're going to bury it. And so this is more of like a layering. This is what we do in our CFTs. It's kind of tough to do in these small bins, but it'll work. So let me just kind of bury it. Yeah, good enough. And that'll work. So that is the second method. The third method will not work at all in these bins, but I'm still going to show it to you because a lot of you have bins where this method makes sense, and that is a migration kind of a thing. So what you do is you put the food in one place and they migrate up to it, like a horizontal migration kind of a thing. I know, I think the Hungry Bin, or if you were so inclined to add another bin on top of this one, what you would do is you'd put the food into the next bin up, and that encourages the worms to go up, leave the castings alone, and they'll start eating the food that's up above them, right? So that's the migration. And so what you do is you put all the food in the next bin up, and then the worms go to the food. So it works in a lot of the home tiered bins. It's probably not going to work the way I'm doing it. I'm probably going to do it more like a big pocket feeding kind of a situation here. But we'll see. It should work. Let's see what we got. All right, that's a lot, but that's still 1.5 pounds. And this is the smaller of the 3. So what you would do is, for these purposes, I'm gonna rate, these poor guys are probably going crazy. Like, why are you disturbing us? Look at that worm ball. That is awesome. That's how we do this, because that is fun. Okay, so we're gonna move all those guys over there. I'm gonna put all the food right there. So all the food is in one side, the worms are in the other. I'm going to put a little bit to cover it. Oh, they're kind of not happy with me right now. And that's basically the migration method. So then this is one way that you can sift a bin easily, because then all the worms are going to come from over here and they're going to move over here and start chowing on this. And then you can start sifting those castings. With this method, with the layers, what's going to happen is, the idea here is that the worms will move upward and then you can harvest from the bottom. So this is a good method for CFTs. And then the pocket method, I recommend for new worm owners. Owners, is that even a thing? Worm farmers, I guess. Because if you're not sure if the worms are going to like what you're giving them, put it in a corner. And that way, you know, if they avoid it, if that food stays there a month, maybe that's not the food for them. Or, you know, if it disappears in a couple of days, you know, your watermelon, your pumpkins, your avocados, things like that, those will disappear right away because they're really happy with that. And this will avoid heating up the bin, whereas the layer method in the middle one might heat up the bin. This won't heat up the bin. And if you're new, you want to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to keep the worms happy, because otherwise they will escape the bin and then you will be sad because they will be dead. So again, bury the food, bury the food, bury the food. Put light over your bins for at least the first week or two, or put lids on them after a couple of weeks. And that will be it. So that'll be it for us today. We will close these up, put covers on them, put lights on them, put them away. I have to feed the other 15 trays that we have, so that will be the rest of my day. And we will see you all next time. Thanks for stopping in. Have a good one. So, if you remember the last video where we posted all the bugs flying, here they are. Here's what's left of them. There were thousands in the night, and they breed and then they die. Oh, and we've got deer in the yard. I don't know if you can see them, but there's 2 out there. probably go running once I walk out here. It's like they own the place. They're just watching me. Trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna ignore them. There they go. There you go, running. Into the woods. Alright. Fun morning.